So it's been a few weeks since I posted a video, and during that time, I have reached 1,000 subscribers. So I am so grateful. I'm so surprised that so many people are interested in my tutorials. So I'll definitely be making more of them. And the reason I've been so busy is because I had a bit of a career change and began teaching. And I worked as a long-term substitute in a history class. And the project I'm going to show you today is one that we did in the class. We were studying the Industrial Revolution. I wanted the students to get a feel for how arduous and long a task it was to make clothing by hand before the advent of the sewing machine. So I thought the best way to show them that would be to have them sew a button. And not only do they get an appreciation for the technology that we have today that enables us to have more than one or two shirts, they would also learn a valuable skill, which is replacing a button on their clothes. So it worked out really well. So the supplies that you need would be two different widths of Girl Green ribbon. This is 1 inch wide, this is 3/8 of an inch wide. And these are each 7.5 inches long. What I did was ahead of time, I asked all the students which high school they would be attending the following year since they're 8th graders. And I made little kits that look like this with the school colors of the high school that they would be attending. So this made it really easy to distribute all the supplies that were needed to all the students in a short period of time. The classes are only about 50 minutes long, so we needed to maximize the amount of sewing time because many of the students had never touched a needle and thread before in their lives, so we needed that instruction time. So in addition to this, you also need a key ring since that's the end project. The button, of course. The size of the button doesn't really matter. I just got a little variety pack with a bunch of different sizes and colors in it. You'll also need a needle and a spool of thread and a scissors. And then also what I did on these is I ran a lighter across the cut edges just for a second or two to heat seal them so they would not unravel. Now before you, or if you're a teacher, your students pick up the needle and thread, you'll want to go over some basic safety rules. And I did that before I gave the students the kits. The main rule would be to never put a needle or a pin into your mouth. That can be highly dangerous. It can go into your lungs, and that's obviously not very good. I reminded the students not to purposely poke themselves with the needle or the pin. Once in a while you get a student who will think it's funny to put the needle through the top layer of their skin and gross people out. So I caution them not to do that because that's not a good idea, obviously. And also to keep their fingers out of the way. When you're sewing the button on and you're pushing the needle through, you want to make sure that your finger is not directly behind where that needle is going to come out and stab you. So, and also the main rule of sewing is do not rush. Don't do it when you're tired either. Both of those things are really good ways to either injure yourself or ruin your project or both. So to get started, you'll want to, of course, thread your needle. I did that ahead of time. So I just doubled over about an 18-inch long piece of thread and made a little double knot at the end, just like this. So I have that. Then what I did was I layered these two pieces of ribbon. So I centered the skinny one over the wider one. Then put the key ring over both of them like this. And then brought it to the middle. Then you fold these layers of ribbon over. Make sure everything is lined up and centered. Takes a minute to do. If you have a student who has trouble with motor skills, like fine motor skills, you can assist them by pinning this all together so they don't have to try to hold it together while sewing the button on. I found that the students I had didn't need that assistance, but I had pins with me just in case that they did. So there you go. Now what you'll do is grab your button and you will center it right underneath the key ring. This is what holds everything together and keeps the key ring in place. So that button's going to be right underneath the key ring, like that. Then you're going to sew it together. So it's going through all the way. Then for the second step, instead of going around like this, you're going back out the way you came. And that'll be a little bit tricky because you have to kind of guess where the hole in the button is in the front, since you obviously can't see it from that side. And then you just repeat this. So I told the students to sew it about 5 or 10 times. A lot of them ended up doing it more than that. And then we ended up with a really, really short tail by the time they were done. And that's when they would ask me, hey, what do I do next? And I ended up having to tie it for them because of having an inch of thread to tie in a knot is really a difficult task. And I did want to avoid frustrating the students. I wanted them to have a positive memory of this project, so hopefully to encourage them to maybe sew again, or at the very least replace their own buttons when they pop off their clothing. So this is good enough. So as you can see, I got a few inches of thread here. Just snip that off, put your needle back, and then you do just a regular knot, the kind you do to tie your shoes. Just do that twice. And there you go. So you just trim that extra thread off. And there you go. So this was a pretty simple project to do. And all of my students actually completed the project, which I was just floored by because I really had no idea how well it was going to do. And surprisingly, all the students enjoyed it, and a lot of them put the key rings on their backpacks right away, and they were excited to have something in their future high school's colors. So it worked out really nicely. I will put the source of ribbon that I like to order from. It's quality American-made ribbon and really great prices, much better than your local store. And then for buttons, I just bought a multi-pack. You can get them on Amazon. I just went to a big box retailer and got a whole bag of them, and the key rings are from Amazon as well. So I hope you like this tutorial, and I will see you again very soon.